Okay, I'm back and I'm going to talk about what I ate last week. As usual, I have a few notes. Actually, I only have one note, it looks like. So sorry about that. My one note is a comment about Radio Bakery, which is a bakery in, I believe, Greenpoint on India Street. Maybe I'm wrong, but close to where I used to live. The streets in Greenpoint are alphabetical. I lived on Huron, so I lived the next street over. A while ago, so this bakery was definitely not there. There wasn't anything up there when I lived in Greenpoint. Greenpoint is now full of expensive restaurants. Like the biggest restaurant in Greenpoint when I was there was Heath Ledger had a restaurant. What was it called? It had really good mussels. It was on a corner. What else was there? Well, Peter Pan Donuts is amazing. You can't beat that. Heath Ledger restaurant in let's see. I'm pulling it up. They had really good mussels and like Five Leaves. That's what it was called. I think it's still there. It's pretty normal. They have a burger, they have mussels, they have a little bit of French, a little bit American. Okay, but what I wanted to talk about was Radio Bakery. I've never been there, but I saw a TikTok from a guy who goes there as often as he can, and every time he gets a different pastry and he tries it, they look really good for the most part. I'm liking that they have a really deep cook on them. They're done well, cooked well done, and a lot of them are savory. There was a brown butter cornbread that looked really good. The one that I wrote down is related to a tuna salad I made in my home a couple weeks ago, and I used pickled banana peppers in mine, and I thought, this is good. Why don't more people do this? Or maybe I'm pulling from a reference that I'm not understanding, and people do this all the time. Not understanding is in my subconscious, and I'm not making the connection. So the item was a tuna salad on a sesame seeded stirato loaf, which is the word that I've been looking for forever. Means stretched in Italian. It's that bread. It's that crispy but soft Italian seeded bread, sandwich bread. It's the long sub roll. That is amazing. So tuna salad with, well, in the video he said pepperoncini, pickled pepperoncini. On the seeded stirato, and it looked amazing. Anyway, shout out to that bakery I've never been to. Looked great. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm jumping into September 15th, 2025. It was a Monday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home, and a bowl of crisped rice cereal with milk. 10 a.m. 2 hard-boiled eggs, made at home, and a handful of bruschetta crackers. 2 p.m. 2 fortune cookies and a spoonful of bay leaf cheesecake flavored Jenny's ice cream. 6 p.m. baked rotini in a tomato cream sauce with hot Italian sausage, basil, mozzarella, and garlic yogurt, made at home. 7 p.m. Jenny's maple-soaked pancakes ice cream. Okay, so I'm still working through this 5-pound bag of even keel, which is the half calf blend from Counterculture Coffee. I'm actually almost done with it. It is a nice reset. I mean, it's not really a reset because I just drink twice as much coffee. It allows me to drink twice as much coffee and therefore twice as much half and half. I'm eating this crisp rice cereal from Whole Foods. It's organic. It's nice. It has a really nice color to it. I really didn't want to cook, so eating cereal and then hard boiling some eggs. I mean, I guess that's technically cooking. Just eating crackers, handfuls of crackers. There's a cracker. Well, Yeah, I've talked about these crackers. They're basically croutons, but in bruschetta form. They're like a flattened crouton. I think they're Italian. You can find them at Whole Foods, or at least I find them at my Whole Foods. While I was out of town, Brian could not both work a full time job, commute an hour each way, and manage to cook for himself. So he decided that he needed to order Chinese food and accidentally ordered a gallon of egg drop soup. So still have some of that frozen in the freezer. But anyway, he didn't eat any of the fortune cookies. They gave him like 20 fortune cookies because he ordered a gallon of soup. So I've been slowly eating the fortune cookies that he left in the silverware drawer. And then I had a spoonful of bay leaf cheesecake flavored Jenny's ice cream for lunch. I mean, this is like a brutal day. And then I've been doing a pasta bake at the beginning of the week. I think it's good for lunch. It's good for lunch leftovers. And I still had some frozen leftover sauce that I made from our summer tomatoes, added some hot Italian sausage, and I really first got into making pasta bakes when I would have, or when I would encounter ricotta sales at Food Line. Their ricotta was always on sale for some reason. And so I would mix up ricotta with grated garlic and make a garlic ricotta and use that in the pasta bake. I have not been able to find a really good ricotta sale lately, so I did have some, I think it's like Maple Hill Creamery yogurt from Whole Foods. That was on sale. I got that and made a garlic yogurt, and I thought it would be a little bit too sour, but it actually worked out after it was baked. The yogurt itself was a little loose, which I was worried about. It was actually great in the, you just spoon it over the top and then it sort of turns into a cheese in the oven. Maybe a garlic yogurt would be better. Or I guess not a garlic yogurt. I'm thinking Greek yogurt, a thicker yogurt. Okay. September 16th, 2025. It was a Tuesday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. 2 over easy eggs on 2 slices of Sicilian olive oil toasted La Farm sourdough made at home. 12:30 p.m. A cup of salted chicken stock made at home. 1:30 p.m. A bowl of crisped rice cereal with milk. 6 p.m. Chicken soup with potatoes, carrots, celery, onion, garlic, cannellini beans, and La Farm sourdough croutons made at home. 7 p.m. Jenny's maple-soaked pancakes, ice cream, and 3 fortune cookies. Okay. So I am, if you hadn't noticed, I'm working from home full time. This is temporary. It's because I don't have access to a reliable vehicle right now. I cannot take my truck on an hour drive on the highway. It barely goes over 60. I mean, it goes over 60, but it starts to shake. So I'm working from home. I'm really happy about that. I did, full disclosure, buy a car over the weekend. So at some point I am going to be able to go back to the office, to my disappointment. Although it is sort of nice to get out of the house sometimes. I think I would rather just drive to a coffee shop and work. Like in Durham. A lot of good coffee shops tied to that roastery Little Waves. They have, I think, 2 or 3 cocoa cinnamon cafes where they sell their Little Waves coffee. And some of them are pretty big and you could work there. You can camp out. So I would love to do that at some point. Until then, I mean, I bought a used car, and it's one of those things where they owe me work on it. And so I'm waiting for them to call me so I can bring it in to get the work done. The windshield needs to be repaired, and there's a dent on the back that needs to be repaired. So I'm just not going into the office until I know that I have a car ready, because I'm just going to lose this car at any moment to repair, endless repair, unknown date availability deal. Okay, anyway, so because I'm working from home, I'm at home making chicken stock, multi-day chicken stock, and that is a luxury that I truly miss. So I'm eating a nice cup of salted chicken broth for lunch, and then having cereal an hour later, and then having chicken soup for dinner. I did forget to write in here that there was some tomato paste in there. So the soup was a nice, lovely red, just a slight red. Was a really, I used a lot, I reduced the stock quite a lot and used 1.5 chickens, and I had like a leftover chicken carcass in the freezer, and then I had a full frozen chicken that I put in there. Pulled that out, after it was poached, and then took the meat off that, left it in big chunks for the soup, left the potatoes in half wedges, and then everything else was pretty small. I do like that contrast of like some bigger pieces in the soup, and then the rest of it can fit in your spoon. It kind of feels like you're eating something sort of real on top of the soup. It's not just small pieces that you're shoving into your mouth. You have the ability to choose some bigger pieces of chicken or potato. And then I had these leftover La Farm sourdough croutons that I made a while ago. They're super salty. They're perfect for the soup. They're just like a little bit too crunchy to add to salad for my liking. And yeah, I mean, I made that soup, and then I reduced the stock further on the stove and ended up with like 2 quarts of really rich broth. So good chicken soup overall. Let's see. September 17th, 2025. It was a Wednesday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. 2 over easy eggs and an heirloom tomato on Sicilian olive oil toasted La Farm sourdough made at home. 12:30 p.m. Leftover soup with La Farm sourdough croutons. 2:30 p.m. Italian cracked pepper water crackers. 6 p.m. Smoked sausage, roasted golden pinto tomatoes, and romaine lettuce with Parmesan and creamy Caesar dressing made at home. Okay. So I'm in my eating crackers for lunch phase. Now that I'm not eating ice cream in the middle of the day, I need something else ridiculous to just eat for lunch. These Italian cracked pepper water crackers, again, on sale at Whole Foods. It's a brand. I think it's called Croccantini. Little crunchies, I think is what it translates to. They're a little bit long. They're long and flat, and they're too long to fit in your mouth, so you have to bite them in half, and they produce a lot of crumbs. So that would be my one critique of these crackers. I describe them as water crackers because they taste like a water cracker. I don't think they are, I don't know if they're a exact water cracker by definition, but that's what they taste like. They are too long and they make a mess. Maybe my mouth is small. I actually do think my mouth is extraordinarily small because of the mouth guard that I buy at night. I have to put it on the smallest setting. So maybe it's a me problem, but they need to make them smaller, would be my advice. Most crackers I can fit in my mouth whole. Not this. It's too long. And it's not easy to bite in half. It's like you're biting it along the grain almost, and it doesn't work. Anyway, for an easy weeknight dinner, I'm really liking this smoked sausage, or just any sausage, like roasted in the oven with potatoes. I start the potatoes early, and then like when the potatoes have about 15 minutes left, I'll put the sausage in the oven. Or depending on the sausage, I'll cook it on a cast iron on the stove. And then a side salad is nice. This smoked sausage is basically, usually they have a 2-for-1 sale at Food Lion, which is why I'm buying it. I don't remember the brand name, but it's a Texas smoked sausage. It's like a kielbasa, but not Polish, if that makes sense. And I like to cook it in my medium cast iron pan on low until it really gets deep coloring on both sides and almost starts to split. That's how I like to make that. Okay. September 18th, 2025. It was a Thursday. 6:30 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home and a bowl of crisped rice cereal with milk. 12 p.m. A bacon cheeseburger and cheese curds from Cookout in Oxford, North Carolina. 4 p.m. A small bowl of Goro Vinho Verde Lorero. That's wine. 6 p.m. Orecchiette with chorizo, arugula, onion, garlic, Goro Vino Verde Lorero, lemon, and pecorino romano made at home. 7 p.m. A small bowl of Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream. So this was a really fun day, actually. I went to the DMV. Not once, but twice. Actually, technically 3 times. So I have been living in this state for almost 4 years now with an out-of-state driver's license, which you're not supposed to do. Maybe I'm breaking the law, but look, here's the thing. I didn't have a driver's license before I moved here. So before I moved here, I had to go to the DMV, take the driving test, get my driver's license. That was so much work. I actually had to go to driving school because it had been so long since I did driving school when I was in high school. That was so much time, money, and energy. Driving school, driving test, DMV, getting my license. I even had a real ID ahead of the curve. And then, that was all like a month before I moved here. By the time I moved here, I was like, I'm not doing that again. I have an ID. It's not expiring for years. Do not tell me what to do. So I've had an Illinois driver's license this whole time. Another thing was when I first moved here, I didn't have proper paperwork to prove my residency. I still technically don't. On the website for the Real ID, you need like 2 pieces of mail from like very specific like state institutions. I went to my local DMV, which is just like a room, like a 10 by 10 room. And they were like, any 2 pieces of mail, doesn't even matter. It could be like a piece of spam mail. They were accepting whatever was coming through that door. There were so many people in line ahead of me that were like, yeah, I'm here to get my Real ID. And other people were like, okay, did you bring your birth certificate? You brought your birth certificate, right? And they were like, no, I need paperwork. I don't really understand what was going on. Like nobody brought paperwork. And then they were all shocked when they got to the front of the line, waited 2 hours in line, got to the front, and they were like, you need paperwork. But I ended up spending so much time at the DMV because it's the DMV that I realized that everybody at the DMV, both waiting and working there, knew each other. They all had plans with each other for that weekend. And, it made sense to me that like for years, people probably have been coming to that DMV without paperwork because they all grew up together. They're all cousins. They all know each other, and just getting their licenses renewed without having to bring paperwork in. Because why would you? I mean, what's the point? Like they know who you are. They know they know everything about you. So, this Real ID is really throwing everyone for a loop. I didn't know that they ever had to bring paperwork to the DMV before. It's a new concept for them, apparently. I've been bringing stacks and stacks of paperwork to the DMV for as long as I've been going to the DMV, probably because it's always been a big city DMV experience for me. This was super different. They were so nice. I brought my car. You have to show proof of insurance in North Carolina to get a driver's license. And I'd printed it out like a couple months ago, knowing that I had to go to the DMV, and didn't realize that by the time I got there last week that it had expired. The account had lapsed, and, they let me text them. They let me go on my app and text them like a screenshot of my new insurance, and they printed it out for me. They were so nice. Let me just give them any 2 pieces of mail. I was embarrassed because some of the mail that I gave them had food stuck to it. It was nasty. But they have this system now where you go in. Sorry, this is the most boring thing to talk about in the world, but They have the system now where you go and you wait in line, you tell them what you're there for, they check your documents, and they give you a ticket, and they're like, go home, eat lunch, go to breakfast, do whatever. We'll text you, and when you need to come back, and you have 30 minutes to get here. That's fine for most people because it's just like local people in the county, and some people were furious. They're like, well, I work an hour away. How am I supposed to come back? It's like, well, why did you come here? And anyway, so I did go home and had to go back. Got my stuff done, got my license, got it all cleared up, and went to cookout after. So it was a glorious day. And after being at the DMV all day, I had to open a bottle of wine. Oh, another thing about the DMV. So with the ticket system, they require that you have a phone they require you to receive a text message for the system to work, which I think is a major flaw. I understand it's it makes sense, but most of the people that were coming into that DMV in this very rural county are very old. And so many of them were like, well, I don't have a phone that texts. So the system doesn't work for them. And I don't understand why they implemented it in this environment, in this county. I don't know if it's like a statewide requirement, but it's not working for a lot of people. Okay. So, well, I also opened this bottle of wine because I knew I wanted to cook with it. So I have to give myself a little bit to taste. Another thing, I went to the grocery store this day. I went to Food Lion in Oxford, and people don't like nice food there. So I got some good sale items. I got 6 bags of this Barilla brand bronze cut pasta. I'd never seen it before, but they come in these red bags. They really stand out. No one's buying them, but they were $2 each for bronze cut pasta. And I was like, okay, that's a pretty good deal. So I got some orecchiette. They had locatelli, pecorino romano on sale. So I got 2 containers. It's grated already. I like the pre-grated cheese. I mean, I know it's not the best quality, but it is fun to me. And because I know it's going to mold quicker, it's like permission to use it faster and use more of it, if that makes sense. Because when I buy the actual true like a piece of Parmesan Reggiano, I'm like so aware of the cost and slowly shaving little by little bits at a time. I'd rather just like buy a slightly cheaper but still Italian cheese and feel okay about being a little bit more heavy-handed with it. And this wine, it's a Vino Verde. It was pretty good. It has that sort of bright effervescence. I mean, it wasn't, but it had that quality to it. It was had a little bit of minerality to it. It was bright, but not too bright. It wasn't, how can I, maybe salinity is the word I'm looking for, but not really. Maybe like an olive brine touch to it. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't too sweet. It was nice, and it was great to cook with. I had some chorizo that I got on sale at Whole Foods. I charred that with some onion and garlic and a bunch of olive oil. Let it get nice and dark and deglazed it with the wine. And cooked some orecchiette, boiling water. When that was, just about done, just about al dente, I put it in and with some pasta water and let it finish cooking, and then add the lemon juice and pecorino romano off the heat, and added the arugula in at the end. It turned out to be a lot creamier than I thought it was going to be. A lot more fat came off the chorizo than I anticipated, and it was sort of like a heavy, creamy dish, and it was good. And yeah, ran out of Jenny's ice cream. It's an expensive habit, so we need to switch back to Bluebell. September 19th, 2025. It was a Friday, 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. Leftover soup and Italian cracked pepper, water crackers. 11 a.m. Henning's garlic and dill cheddar with Italian cracked pepper water crackers. 6 p.m. Leftover soup and olive oil toasted La Farm sourdough made at home, and a small pour of Goro Vino Verde Lorero. 7 p.m. A bowl of Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream. Okay, so I have a note here to say that the brand of the Italian cracked pepper water crackers is La Panzanella Croccantini. So there you go. I have another note here. Sometimes I'll do a mid-food log note, and I think it sort of spices things up. So this Henning's garlic and dill cheddar I got on sale at Food Lion. I went to remember I went to Food Lion after my first trip to the DMV. I didn't even say, I actually had 3 DMV trips because when my insurance was initially expired, they made me get back in line, which wasn't the biggest deal. There were only a few people ahead of me. I was basically at the end of the line, so I basically had to go to the DMV 3 times. Okay. Henning's garlic and dill cheddar. It was on clearance. It was on a manager special, as Food Lion calls it. And I was like, why not? I do love a dill in a cheese. I love a Havarti dill. It's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty standard. But I was like, what is this Henning's cheese? I never look up these random cheeses that I get from Food Lion. Henning's, it's a Wisconsin cheese brand. I was not prepared for what I found on this website. They basically just make blocks of cheddar cheese, but they are flavored. And I'm going to read you some of the flavors. I'm not going to read you all of them because there are too many. They have like an extra sharp, sure. They have a blazing buffalo. Okay. They have a Mediterranean sunset. I mean, who knows what that means? Maple bourbon, cranberry orange, tequila lime, bourbon cask, caraway, mild, apple, simply strawberry, cranberry chipotle, Louisiana lagniappe. I mean, I guess the fruit, fruit and cheese, sure. Summer truffle. And here's the one that I was like, I need to share this link. Pumpkin spice. They have a pumpkin spice cheddar cheese. Taste of Autumn, it's called. I need to look closer. Let me click through to this pumpkin spice. Ooh, recipe ideas. Sweet potatoes. Pancakes. Wait. Recipe ideas. Sweet potatoes. Pancakes with ginger snaps and pecans. What does that mean? You're going to put pumpkin spice cheddar on pancakes that have ginger snaps and pecans in them? Maybe. I mean, look, I worked at a pie place. I worked at a pie restaurant in New York. And, we did the slice of cheddar melted on the pie. You put it in the oven to warm it up. You put a big fat wet slice of cheddar on there. Dessert cheese. I get it. This is a little bit strange to me. Pancakes with ginger snaps and pecans. Maybe I need to Google this. Pancakes. Ginger snaps. I mean, maybe it's a Wisconsin thing. They do eat raw meat sandwiches, like raw ground beef. Ginger pancakes. I don't know, you guys. Ginger. I don't know. So I skipped page 1. That was page 2. So let's see if I can go to page 1. See if there's anything that I would really like to bring up. They have a hatch chili flavor, which I do love. I have been to the Southwest during hatch chili season a number of times, and that's always fun. There is this fast food chain in Oklahoma that I've been to. I think it's called Brahms, and it has like really 80s bright teal and bright pink colors, like, you know, like an old Taco Bell. And I don't know, it's like a Cookout or a Culver's, but they supposedly just use local. It's all local stuff, or local ingredients. So, and they celebrate the hatch chili season. I remember going there in Oklahoma City. That was fun. Or going to Austin, and like you go to the HEB grocery store and they're roasting hatch chilies in the parking lot, and everything in the grocery store is like you can get a hatch chili version of it. I love that. I love a celebration of a seasonal ingredient like that, by, you know, that is not only a community local thing, but is so plentiful that the large businesses also take advantage of it and support the people who want to continue to grow this thing and keep the tradition up. Okay, Dragon's Breath. It must be hot. I mean, there's nothing like crazy. Peppercorn, that sounds great. Blueberry cobbler is weird. Mango fire sounds great, actually. You know, and then they have all kinds of like different age. They have like they have a 12-year cheese, which is $20. Yikes. I do not like super aged cheddar, I'll be honest. Okay, so thanks for going on that detour with me. But, so yeah, the garlic and dill was pretty good. They definitely didn't have all those other options at my Food Lion. Okay. September 20th, 2025. It was a Saturday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half and scrambled eggs over leftover roast potatoes, sauteed with Frodo bell peppers, onion, Syrian goat horn peppers, and harissa made at home. 4:30 p.m. Half of an egg roll, fried dumplings with black vinegar, cheese wontons with sweet and sour sauce, chicken and broccoli with pork fried rice, and wonton soup from Hong Kong in Oxford, North Carolina. Okay, so this was just a 2-meal day. Woke up early and I had those roasted potatoes left over from that night when I roasted sausage and potatoes, and quickly cooked them on high in some oil. Tried to do a hash, but we were in a rush, and you know, like reheating potatoes on high is not the way to go because the inside does not soften up and get, you know, the inside is neglected. The outsides get too charred and hot before the insides get to reheat through all the way, and it was just not what I wanted. I could barely breathe while I was making this because, I mean, I added harissa powder, like a harissa spice blend, but those Syrian goat horn peppers from Commonwealth Seeds, those are hot. I mean, not taste hot, but like breathing them in as you're cooking, it was nuts. It very much reminded me of like, I don't know, when you first worked at Mission Chinese, at least the one in New York, they would haze you and they would make you like fry peppers and, you know, heat up Szechuan peppercorns and then eat a whole, they would like really douse chicken wings in this like Szechuan peppercorn spice mixture that we would make. And yeah, they would make you, you know, because most of the time when you're going into that environment, you build up the taste for the Szechuan peppercorns, but at the first time you're not prepared for it. Anyway, that's kind of what it reminded me of. I could not stop coughing. Like when I first worked at Mission Chinese, I was just coughing the whole time because I worked right next to the station where they were making those chicken wings. Okay, so I bought the car that day. Bought a car, and in celebration, So you can put like a down payment on a car and a credit card, or at least a limited amount. Decided to put half of the down payment on a credit card, pay it off immediately, so that I could get like, I think we got like we get a bunch of cash back. Use that cash back to get Chinese food. And you know what? I thought, you know, we're not in New York. We're not anywhere like where you can get really good Chinese food. Chinese food is Chinese food. And what does it matter? We'll just go to, every Food Lion has a Chinese food restaurant next to it. That is just a fact. And we'll just go to one of those and get Chinese food. Doesn't matter. They're all the same. I am wrong. I'm very wrong. I maybe spoiled growing up in the Northeast with good Chinese food. I mean, I understand that, all these Chinese food restaurants are pretty similar, but they do have slight regional tweaks to cater to their regional populations. In New York, I expected a certain quality, and that was always reached for the most part. Growing up in Glastonbury, Connecticut, we had a little tiny old-timey strip mall at the bottom of the hill we lived on. With a Chinese place called Charcoon. They had northern style thick wrapper dumplings. Good quality Chinese food. My dad always got the hot and sour soup, and it came with those like puffed crackers, those puff fried crackers, which my mom always threw away. She wouldn't let us eat them because they were quote unquote empty calories. I guess we didn't realize that they were supposed to go. I mean, I just realized they're supposed to go with the soup. It's because my dad ordered hot and sour soup all the time and just ate a quart of hot and sour soup every time we ordered Chinese food. Sadly, Charcoon has burned to the ground and no longer exist. I hope they rebuild. Also, weird thing about my hometown, both of the Asian restaurants burned to the ground, and I kind of wonder if someone was doing that intentionally. I don't want to make any allegations and get sued, but what is that about? I hope they rebuild. Also, it was next to a video store called Down Under because it was in a basement, and it was kangaroo themed. It was like Australian themed. And I loved that place. Wood paneling, weird gray, blue carpeting, really tight carpeting, scratchy carpeting. Would always rent Care Bear movies from there, and they were never watchable. They were like so run down and busted that it was just pixelation. Anyway, this is all to say that this Chinese food was really bad. So first of all, they didn't give us I got a pork egg roll and they didn't give it to us. I also got a shrimp egg roll and they did give that one to us. Split it in half with Brian. Neither of us got any shrimp in there. It was basically a hollow fried wrapper with some really small like cabbage in there. One thing that I miss about Chicago Chinese food, which is also different, oftentimes, and I would always try and find out which ones had this and which ones didn't because I wanted it so badly. Chicago Chinese takeaway places would do a peanut sauce in their egg rolls that was so good. Ooh, peanut sauce in the egg roll is good. And they were like big and nicely stuffed. This was underwhelming. The fried dumplings, I mean, it's like, they're whatever. They're so whatever. The dumpling dipping sauce is great. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the dumplings are just like filled with like water chestnuts and like some meat. Thicker wrapper, not as thick as like the northern style that I would get at home growing up. The cheese wontons, Brian tried to talk me out of ordering these and I'm like, no, this is crab rangoon. They just are not going to put crab in it, so they have to call it cheese wontons. And it was like a cream cheese mixture with scallions and some other spices in there, and they were good. You know, it's like what you expect. Chicken and broccoli with pork fried rice was super disappointing. First of all, the pork fried rice, I mean, it's not fried rice. It's just yellow rice with the smallest pieces of that red pork you've ever seen, just like specks, not even something you can bite into. You know, usually it's like a diced red pork. This is like pork crumbs, and there are 4 of them. The chicken and broccoli that I know and love from the Northeast, and I think even Chicago, but really this is like a New York experience for me, where I would get chicken and broccoli all the time, lunch special, as a working New York girl. Chinese lunch special, you know, it was like $6. It was like a thinly sliced white chicken and like good sized pieces and tons of broccoli in a garlicky brown sauce. This was not that. I don't know what this was, but it had, you know, it was drenched in sauce to the point that it was inedible, but the sauce had 0 flavor. I almost was like, I wonder if I have COVID because I can't taste anything. The chicken was super small and it was red. It's like it was like the red pork, but the chicken. It was mediocre, subpar pieces. There wasn't those like flat, luscious pieces that I would get, you know, 15 years ago in New York. And then the broccoli was like, you know, a few pieces of broccoli. I don't know. It was super disappointing. The wonton soup was pretty good. And yeah, I don't really, maybe it's like a North Carolina thing, but I don't really like the Chinese takeaway here. I haven't really gone to a spot, and I've tried a handful. This is not the place to get Chinese food. Like, I know there are more authentic places in the city that you could go to, but once you leave the city, once you go out into rural North Carolina, the Chinese food is bad. So don't waste your money. But man, I would kill for one of those Chicago egg rolls with the peanut sauce in it. I would kill for one. I mean, sometimes I would just get 2 of those and eat that for dinner. Ooh. Okay. September 21st, 2025. It was a Sunday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home. 10 a.m. Coffee with half and half, 2 eggs over easy, bacon, and a pancake with salted whipped butter and maple syrup at McLean's Old Time Cafe in Zebulon, North Carolina. 5 p.m. Baked rigatoni with mozzarella and pecorino romano in ragu with basil and oregano, made at home. 6:30 p.m. Bluebell cookie 2-step ice cream. Ooh, I forgot to mention something. Did I mention that the pecorino romano that I'm using is Locatelli? Maybe I already did. Anyway, okay, so this day, woke up early. It was our first day with our new car, and Brian said, let's drive it. And I said, okay, where do you want to go? So we drove to McLean's Old Time Cafe, the insane family restaurant that I've been talking about on here. You have to get there early or you're going to be waiting. They have wraparound porch full of Adirondack chairs. Those wooden chairs. They have chairs everywhere because you're going to be waiting a long time. They have overspill parking lots. It's that kind of place. You can't even see the wall because there's so much dusty memorabilia stapled to it. It's crazy. Really good servers. They pack the servers with full sections. So these servers are like snappy service. They got you. What do you want? You want a refill? Like they know how to serve. It's a good experience. I do feel strange not going there with a large family and like 6 kids. Just going there with Brian, dressed the way that we dress. I mean, I don't dress strangely. I mean, I didn't think I ever dressed strangely until I moved here. We definitely stick out, and we're the strangest people there. But I love going back. It's like a middle of the road diner experience. Watered down gas station coffee. I mean, it's not that bad, but I mean, the over easy eggs are perfect every time. I just love eating a plate of eggs. Sometimes I wish they had a little bit of toast to wipe up just the last of the. I hate to waste an egg yolk. Brian always eats eggs and lets the yolk drip out and just lets it dry to the plate, but I will lick it off. So I dipped my bacon in the leftover yolk and ate it that way. And then I got a plate of 3 pancakes. So I got this thing called like Nanny's Filler Upper. Came with a choice of eggs, a choice of meat, and then 3 pancakes. But really, all I want is one good pancake. I don't need 3 pancakes. I just want one good pancake. And so, you know, they give you like a tiny scoop of butter for 3 pancakes, but really I put all that butter on one pancake, covered it in syrup, and that is the experience I want. I don't want to like spread my resources thinly and have 3 okay pancakes. I want one amazing pancake. And it was. I chose the crispiest, darkest one. It had crispy, buttery edges, salty butter all over it, melting into it, and all kinds of syrup all over it. I mean, it was perfect and inspired by all of the Jenny's ice cream, the maple soak pancake ice cream that I've been eating. I mean, this pancake far outshone that. Every time I eat ice cream flavor, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just imitating a better experience. Like any ice cream flavor you can think of, or like candy flavor. It's like, this is just like a lazy flavor version of what you really want. You just don't want to make that. So you buy an ice cream that's flavored like that. Okay. So that was wonderful. Perfect pancake experience. You just need one. Brian ate the other 2 pancakes. So I think he had a total of like 5 pancakes. We went home and picked all of our pumpkins. So we have a pumpkin patch. You know, they've been out there growing since June. We drove the truck up to get the pumpkins and they were gone. Really, the grass had just grown up so high that you couldn't see any of the pumpkins. So I had to dig around in the grass to find all these pumpkins. And Brian was like, yeah, we probably, you know, it didn't go too well. We probably only have 12 pumpkins. I think we have like 50 pumpkins. So we harvested all of those. Unfortunately, I don't think they're good eating pumpkins. I think they are purely decorative. And again, they're from Commonwealth Seeds, the seed company I've been talking about over and over again. And yeah, it's described as an ornamental pumpkin. So it's called a resilient fire pumpkin, which is funny. It makes it sound like it's fire resistant. Developed by Edmund Frost for Commonwealth Seeds, an orange Halloween pumpkin bred to resist downy mildew so that they grow well into October. Well, I guess we might have harvested too early, but they looked ready. Some percentage of the plants will make pumpkins with skin that is too hard to carve. Interesting. Shapes vary from round to somewhat oblong, and they ripen to a medium deep orange color. It's a cross between magic lantern, an orange carving pumpkin resistant to downy mildew, and an orange squash from Tamaulipas, Mexico, called tutume. Tutume? Edmund got tutume and about a dozen other tropical cucurbita, pepo seed stalks, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I mentioned before, downy mildew is a really big problem for us here when we try and grow winter squash, pumpkins. I mean, any like gourd that's, you know, for like a summer squash, it doesn't matter because it's like you're picking that right away. But any long-term gourd or squash or that you need to be out in the field for an extended period of time, they're gonna die. They're gonna get hit by downy mildew and die. So you need something that's gonna make it. So these were good. I mean, I love the look of them. They're like they're kind of oddly shaped. The picture on the website is like a sort of like a rustic carving pumpkin. Ours are, some of them are like retain some of the dark green. I mean, maybe they're not fully mature, but they're really kind of funky and weird in a really charming rustic way, I guess. Rustic is a weird word. I'm not a coffee shop from 2015. I don't need to say the word rustic, but what am I trying to say? They're just charming and kind of weird. And heirloom is maybe a better descriptor. I love them. They're not that big, and I can't wait to put them all over the porch. I've never really decorated for holidays before, but this batch of pumpkins makes me excited to do that. They're strange looking. So anyway, did that, and then made a pasta bake. I used a glass jar of passata that I got on sale at Food Lion because I ran out of tomato sauce that I had made from the summer and froze. So I have to buy tomatoes now again. So yeah, I don't know. Arthur Schwartz was talking about cooking with passata recently, and I was like, I should be cooking with passata. It's okay. I don't know. I think the tomato sauce that I make is far superior. It just has like a lively sweet flavor. And the passata, even though it's seemingly fresher, it just is sort of like one note, sort of flat and like tomato, if that makes sense. It's like ketchup without the sugar. Okay. Well, one thing that I didn't mention is, well, I'll save it for next week because actually I'm going to save it for next week. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.